Hello world, welcome back to the Razor RC, and today we're doing the full review of the Redcat Valkyrie 4S MT. This is a 1/10 scale electric four-wheel drive monster truck basher. Sells for $300 here in the US, which is a pretty amazing price, and we're going to be doing the full review. So the way it works is we go through 6 different categories. Give it a rating from 1 to 5 stars, and it's compared to other 4S monster trucks in its class. So I would consider this to be closer to something like a Traxxas Mags, Arma Outcast, or Creighton 4S, or a Skeeter 4S. So something in that 4S class, a little bit bigger than a traditional 10 scale monster truck. But they still call all these trucks monster trucks. But for this price, yeah, I think it's pretty impressive. And those ratings are going to be compared to those other trucks. So if it's average within a class, within that category, meaning it's about mid-pack, it's going to get 3 stars. If it's above average, it's going to get 5 stars, meaning it's better than most of those other vehicles. And if it's below average in some of those areas, it's going to get below 3 stars. So yeah, let's get into the review. Pulling off the body, we can take a look at the electronics. The radio it comes with is this guy, the RTX 4C. I think actually a pretty good radio. The feel is really nice. It's very solid feeling. I think it's 3 channels. It's got like a little LED light here. Button's pretty interesting. Trigger is pretty good. You know, wheel is a little offset and a little bit of play, and you know, the phone's a bit soft. But for an RTR radio, I think this is very, very good. The most impressive thing about this is it does have steering endpoint adjustments, so you can adjust both your left throw, your right throw. That's critical to get your servo working correctly, getting the maximum amount of steering, and then also not overstraining the servo. So lots of videos on that, but it's nice that's included. The buttons and stuff are all recessed. It is digital, so it does have little push buttons rather than knobs. So very impressive radio overall. This is definitely above average. I think it's probably made by like FlySky or something like that. I'm not really sure. Little compartment here on the bottom, 4 AA's, 2.4 gigahertz. Just great little radio overall. I'm quite impressed. In terms of the rest of the components, I think the servo is like a 35 kilogram servo. ESC is basically a Hobbywing Max 10 ESC. The manual, everything does say Hobbywing. It is programmable, lots of options, punch, drag brake, brake force, that kind of thing. Nice little fan on the motor. I think it's like a 36 by 70 millimeter can. Not exactly sure. I'll throw down the exact details there below. And I think it's 2050 kV if I remember correctly. So anyways, yeah, nice little motor, ESC combination. I think power-wise on this is pretty typical. You know, a lot of RTRs are now coming with Hobbywing or similarly branded Hobbywing ESCs and motors, so this is kind of typical for within this class. I don't think the power is outrageous or anything, but it's certainly definitely at least average, if not a little bit above average. I think the radio, again, is above average. So in the electronics category, I'm gonna give it 4 stars. Servo's a little bit slow, but it's not too bad. You can run it at 7.4 volts, so it's pretty cool that you can adjust the BEC on the ESC. So yeah, nice little electronics package overall. I think it's above average, 4 stars. The Valkyrie 4S MT does come with the plastic tub chassis. I think the design elements are somewhat similar to an Arma Granite or Big Rock. I'm not exactly the same. Definitely some inspiration there with the shock towers, the way they kind of pop off the flat bottom chassis. I think helps with the handling quite a bit. The whole chassis is all composite. The drivetrain is metal all down the center of the vehicle, so aluminum drive shaft, very beefy steel gears in the disc. Mod 1 gearing. The drive shafts are a plastic composite, you know, sliding telescopic drive shaft, similar again to like a Traxxas Stampede or Arma Granite. And then the shocks are all plastic. So I think design-wise, they definitely take some cues from like an Arma. You know, there definitely are some similarities. Steering hubs and knuckles and stuff are all very wide offset. So as you can see, the tires are like outside of the kingpin. Leads to some interesting driving dynamics, but you know, it's certainly nothing too negative. The one weird thing about the truck, it does have a sliding steering rack. I do think there's a little bit more play, or it doesn't center quite as well as the traditional bell crank style, but you know, it works okay. Adjustable battery tray here where you can adjust the length. It does have regular Velcro straps there, a little bit on the small side. It fits my 4S pack some, you know, reasonably well, but if you're using kind of a tall 4S pack, you might want to invest in some a little bit longer battery straps. Body mounts are adjustable, so you can raise and lower them. Body itself is actually pretty good. It does have like a nice little roll cage inside, both on the front and the bed and the roof, so it adds a little bit more durability. Nice looking body, sort of a Chevy square body there. Design wise, overall, I think it's fine. You know, I wouldn't say there's anything particularly amazing about it. The sliding steering rack, I would say, is probably not my favorite. I think they probably did that to try to add a little bit more space so they can squeeze in more electronics, because this definitely has packed with ESC, motor, electronics, all that kind of stuff. So not a lot of room. So I think that's why they went that way. Not totally sure, but that would be my guess. Yeah, overall, I think it's a solid design. I mean, there's no adjustments for, there's no sway bars, no real adjustments for the shocks. They are composite as well. Maybe the sliding rack's my favorite thing, but overall, I think the design is fine. It doesn't really affect anything negatively. A little bit harder to work on than your typical 3S or 4S truck. I would say the Max is a little bit worse, but then the Skeeter and the Armors are a little bit better. So overall, design category, I'm gonna get 3 stars. Solid design, just kind of typical, kind of average. Nothing amazing or nothing really bad about it. Now the Redcat, power-wise, I think is pretty typical. It is 4S capable. I think it's geared somewhat, reasonably. It's not totally crazy over-geared. It didn't get too hot on me or anything like that. I know thermal shuts down. It does have a fan and heatsink on the motor, so it does keep that pretty cool. I think the ESC works totally fine in this configuration. So a lot of the 4S trucks do have a similar ESC and motor combination, so nothing too unusual there. Driving-wise, yeah, the steering doesn't center all that well. In terms of traction, I think these tires actually work all right. I do have a video about some drivetrain adjustments I made to get it to drive a little bit better. The phasing of the drive shafts is something you will have to adjust, so you check out that video because that is something you want to do out of the box. The discs were also shimmed a little bit too tight, so I adjusted those to get it a little bit free flowing, and that actually affected the performance. So that didn't really cost anything, but it is something worth kind of double checking on your RC car when you get it or after your first couple packs. I think you'll find actually the truck drives better, it's smoother. You actually get a little bit more traction when the drivetrain is kind of like flowing and like putting down the power a little bit more evenly, a little bit more neutrally like it should be, rather than a little bit tweaking here and there. So yeah, make those adjustments. I think you'll find the performance better as a result. Steering wise, yeah, it's okay. It is quite touchy off of center, so I think again that's probably due to the steering rack. So if you changed out the radio, had something with a little bit of expo control, that would probably make it drive a little bit more linearly. It is a little touchy, and then it goes out and sort of softens out to the end. So nothing major. I didn't have any problems driving it, but I know people have kind of complained about that, or at least noticed that that was a little bit odd. But yeah, performance wise, I'm going to give it 3 stars. I think it's pretty typical within its class. Tires are fine. I don't think there's any issues there. They are kind of a Badlands style. They got pretty firm foams, but it works totally fine. Didn't have any issues with ballooning. It drives well. So overall, performance wise, I'm going to give it kind of an average score, 3 stars. Now, one of the 2 categories everyone's wondering about is durability. And I would say the first run of this truck did have some issues. Some of them came with the wrong shock shaft. So this is somewhat based on the WAV Racing Blitzkrieg, I think it's called, which is, again, it was like a 4-wheel drive monster truck. Very similar design. They definitely tweaked some things with the Redcat to make it more durable, make it a better truck overall. But one of the areas they kind of had issue with was some of the shock shafts still came with the thin shock shafts like they do on the WAV Racing, where the Redcat Valkyrie is actually supposed to come with a thicker threaded shock shaft. So I would say, if you have any issues, that would probably be the one area the shock shafts might break on you, but that's because of a manufacturing issue or a manufacturing error. So if you contact Redcat, they will just ship you out new shock shafts. So I broke one of mine. I had no issues, contacted them. They sent me new shocks, actually a complete set of the rear shocks, so with the new updated shock shafts. So with those updated shock shafts, I have no issues with the truck. Haven't broken anything other than that. The body might have cracked a little bit, but that's pretty typical for crashing this thing. I think durability on thing is excellent. Is it the most durable 4S truck? Maybe up there. I would say the Max is probably the most durable monster truck out there, but this is also extremely durable. I think the drivetrain is very solid. No issues. I didn't have any problems with the tires coming in glued like I did have with the Max. I did break some things on the Max overall, but this thing I have not. So durability wise, I think it's one of the highlights of this truck. I'm going to give it 5 stars. This is a very, very durable truck. I think it's one of the most durable out there in its class. Just if you have a shock shaft issue, just make sure you have the correct updated ones, and I think you'll be fine. Other than that, very, very solid truck. 5 stars in the durability category. Redcat's a little bit of a smaller brand here in the U.S. when you compare to those other brands like Arma or Traxxas, obviously. But you know, they've got a decent presence. Some local hobby shops will actually carry Redcat. I think Hobby Recreation Products used to, or is the distributor for them. You can always buy directly from Redcat. No issues with the parts. So you know, anything I needed, I was able to kind of look up and make sure they were available. So I think, yeah, support and maintenance wise, you know, it's kind of average. It's 3 stars. It's not as good as those bigger brands. The truck is a little bit more difficult to work on. An Arma is definitely easier to take apart and assemble and disassemble and get at the disc and stuff, but this is not too bad. There's kind of a weird thing with like a 5/100 inch little set screw here on the drive shaft to take them apart. You know, not my favorite design, but I was able to get it out, so that was okay. But yeah, working on this, getting parts is fine. I wouldn't say it's best in class. I wouldn't say it's worse in class. It's better than probably Team Corelli, which has a smaller presence here in the US. So if you're in the US, Redcat is definitely a little bit of a decent brand. You know, it's not too small that you can't get stuff. You can always buy stuff online, and working with their customer service is a breeze. I've always had very pleasant, very easy discussions with them about any sort of issues I might have. So yeah, in the support and maintenance category, I'm gonna get 3 stars. I think it's kind of typical. It's just not as widely available as probably some of those bigger brands, but everything else is actually pretty good. Now, the one kicker about this truck is it's $300, right? We're talking about 4S, 4-wheel drive monster trucks, and the other competitors of this are going to be like the Traxxas. That's $570. The Skeeter 4S, that's $519. The Crane or Outcast 4S, that's $450. And those I would consider to be pretty good values. And this is $300. So we're talking, you know, an Outcast or a Crane 4S is 50% more of these. You could buy 2 of those and get 3 of these. So that's kind of how it works out math-wise. It's pretty amazing what you can buy for $300. Is it the most awesome, best performing truck out there? Does it, you know, have the widest parts availability? No, I don't think so. But considering you're paying a lot less, in some cases almost like half the price of like a Max, I think you kind of overlook those things. So in the value category, I'm going to give it 5 stars. Actually, I'm going to give it 5+ stars. I don't have a 6-star rating, but it's 5 stars, but like 5.9999 stars. This is an amazing value. $300 is cheaper than most 3S smaller monster trucks out there. I mean, it's amazing what you can buy. I think the quality is actually pretty good. The plastics, the metals, everything are a little bit higher grade than some of those really cheap RC cars you might find on Amazon or AliExpress or something like that. So amazing value. This is really the highlight of the Valkyrie 4S MT, 5 stars plus. So what do I think about the Valkyrie 4S MT? And by the way, they do make a truggy version of the TR, which is basically the same, just with a different body, different wheels and tires. But amazing value. I think Redcat really hit the ball out of the park with this one. The price is ridiculous, even not considering the price. In every category, it's at least average or above average. I think it's extremely durable, extremely cheap for what you get. And those are the 2 categories, you know, most people probably want to know about. The performance, yeah, maybe not as good. The electronics is actually pretty good. The support and maintenance, maybe not as good, kind of average. But in every category, it's at least 3 stars. And in a couple of the categories, it's best in class. So this is a really good offering, especially at the price. $300 is amazing value. I mean, you got 17mm hexes. The Max doesn't even have 17mm hexes, and it's $570. So ridiculous what some of those other brands are charging. But with the Redcat, this is the value leader. I think you've bought one of these. Just make sure the shock shafts are up to date. And I think you'll have a really good time. It's just an amazing truck. I'm really impressed with this. The durability, honestly, I was a little bit surprised with. It was a lot more durable than I thought. You know, yeah, there are some little issues. Just make sure your drive shafts were, you know, phased correctly, and make sure your discs are shinned correctly. And if you do all those little, you know, things, you'll have something that's amazingly solid, amazingly good value, and it drives pretty well overall. You can do double backflips, probably triple backflips, no issue. So yeah, overall, Redcat Valkyrie 4S MT, I think was a really good release of 2024. Probably vying for like the best RC car of the year. We'll have to see. We're only about 2/3 of the way through the year, but this is a great truck. If you're thinking about getting one, if it fits your budget, for sure get one of these, because it's a little bit different than those other trucks. It's nice to see something that's not an Arma, not a Traxxas, not a, you know, whatever brand, and it's totally different, but still a really good RC car. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe buttons. Look for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.